Fry Orthodontics presents Kevin Keatsman Has Issues. Your smile is just the start. Online at fryorthodontics.com.
It's been a goal since we started this podcast to not get too preachy or in your face or anything along those lines from time to time around the holidays when we do food drives or charity things. You know, I'll put a little pressure on the listeners of this podcast and say, step up, let's go, let's make a difference. And you respond. There is no question if it's brought up. And I hope if I have, built up some trust with the audience, what you understand is I don't get preachy or ask anybody to do much unless it really, really matters. So let me tell you what we're doing here at the Keatsman House over the next few weeks. We're going to be going door to door for a couple of candidates in Lenexa, Joe Karlin for mayor, Mark Charlton for council of Ward 2, because it matters. We had a mayor, a great conservative mayor for 20 plus years, Mike Boehm, who's retiring, and a council member in our ward who has been there, I think, 28 years, that's retiring, and both these seats are up. Both of the opponents, the Democrats, although it will not say on the ballot Republican versus Democrat, okay? It's pretty easy for me to tell who the Democrats are by their signs and things like that. The one dude running for council, the O in his last name is an Obama logo. That's a pretty good indication, and he doesn't list what his profession is on his website. He's a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer at UMKC, but nowhere on his campaign website does it say that because he doesn't want people to know that. It's so dishonest. It is so dishonest. And the wacky lady running for mayor of Lenexa, if she becomes mayor, God help us all. She went to the debate wearing some crazy thing that had a bow button thing around her neck. There was a print of a newspaper. The entire top she was wearing was like a newspaper print thing. And she cackles and she laughs, and she's clearly an abortion freak. There's just no question about this. But we don't label her and can't say she's a Democrat, even though her little signs are light blue, and she doesn't put her last name up there. It just says Julie. So all the girls will go vote for her. It's just crazy what's going on out there. These elections matter. We're going to go door to door for Joe Karlin and Mark Charlton. We may knock on your door somewhere in the next. I've got a couple of buddies who are going to help me. Jessica's going to help. Cabo's going to walk. I may make a little sweater that says Karlin for mayor on my dog and let him run around the neighborhood. I'm not sure. The point is this. I've never done this. And I was one of those self-absorbed, really busy career guys. I was raising my kids, so if I wasn't doing something for my work or building my business, I was doing something with the kids, and I always sloughed this off. And if somebody said, hey, put a sign in the yard, I'd let them maybe put a sign in the yard. But mostly I stayed out of it, and it didn't matter. The audience of this podcast, most of you can do something. This is not the presidential election. It's not November 24. Most of you can do something. Here's what's not happening at the Keatsman House. We're not going to complain in 4 weeks that we didn't do something before the election and try. If Karlin doesn't win mayor and Charlton doesn't win councilman in my ward, I'm not going to sit here in November and cry in my beer and go, dang it, Kevin, you dumbass, you should have got out and you done something. So indulge me. I'm going to have this mayoral candidate on this podcast. This conversation is not specific to Lenexa. There's a couple things that are, but the conversation we'll have with Joe Karlin is about what's happening in so many suburbs around Kansas City and around the country. Charlotte, North Carolina, Phoenix, Arizona. We talk about some of these battleground places. Johnson County, Kansas has become a battleground. Sharice Davids has won multiple terms as a congresswoman in Johnson County. The overwhelming leader in registrations in Johnson County, Kansas are Republicans. They still got like 150,000 more registered voters than Democrats. But we're losing elections because we're lazy and we're fat and happy. And Republicans are like, well, my life's good, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Really? How do you think the people in Prairie Village feel right now? What are they doing in Prairie Village? They're screaming bloody murder because the new council, all the liberals they elected there, want to bring in people from the city for free and just give them urban housing in Prairie Village, which will likely drive the property values of single-family homes down in Prairie Village. They're dealing with socialists. They're dealing with liberals. And for whatever reason, when you go to vote in these off-year elections, not even midterms, off-year elections, November 7th, whether you're in Jackson County, Missouri, Platte County, wherever, your municipality, almost everybody has something on the ballot. This is hard, okay? This is not easy. This isn't going in November of 24 saying I'm voting for Trump over Biden. That's easy. Anybody can make that decision. That's easy. This is a little harder. This is going to take 15 minutes of your time. You're going to have to get online, and you're going to have to look at your local council. You're going to have to look at who's running for mayor. You're going to have to look at school boards and things like that. Maybe your county offers a cheat sheet. Mine does. In Johnson County, they have a wonderful cheat sheet for anybody that wants it. Go to JohnsonCountyRepublicanPartyKansas.org, and it's just the letters. That's jcrpks.org. There is a complete Republican voter guide, including school board positions. Because it will not say on your ballot who the Republican is, and we don't want to guess. So here's all I'm asking. Look up wherever you live. Northland, Blue Springs, Lee Summit. Look up who's running for school board, Blue Valley. Blue Valley's got a wonderful group of people that I think they're calling it BlueValleyGreatness.org. It's all four of them. Vasquez, Hamilton, Bogatu, and Hubner. They're all running as like one block of people as conservatives for the school board. Make Blue Valley schools great again, because the liberals have taken it over. Look these things up. And again, you maybe have a Republican voter guide in your county, and it will tell you your municipal races. Mine does. This is easy for me in Lenexa. But you could be anywhere in Johnson County, and you have this. DeSoto, Overland Park, Leewood. It's all right there. Olathe Schools, Shawnee Mission, Blue Valley. It's sitting right there for you. You have to get involved. So I'm getting preachy, and I really want you to get involved this time. November 7th is right around the corner. Open voting starts 10 days before that in many places. It is imperative that you find a couple people to go vote with. If it's you and your wife or you and your husband in a house, find another couple and go with them. Say, hey, let's go. Let's go vote. I got a cheat sheet for us. This matters this time. That's not even any work. That's not knocking on doors. That's not donating money. That's not anything. A, vote yourself. B, take somebody with you. And do this, because there's outside money everywhere in Kansas City, national money coming in for Democrats in the suburbs. The suburbs are being flooded with Democrat money to put crazy people in like this Julie to be mayor of Lenexa. And she'll cackle and laugh. She's an interior designer. I'm going to put on Twitter. I'll put up on Twitter a picture of her, what she wore to her debate. You can't even believe it. Doesn't really have any business sense. Doesn't do any accounting. Going up against Joe Karlin, who's been on the council for 15 years, the steadiest council member they've had. He's a CPA by trade. He knows where every nickel is spent in Lenexa. He knows the city inside and out. You couldn't be more perfectly groomed to take over as mayor than Joe Karlin. He's friends with Mike Boehm, who's been the mayor for 20 years. This is a next generation candidate, Joe Karlin. It's absolutely perfect, but here's the problem. He's getting outspent because Democrats from outside of Lenexa are throwing money at this Julie chick to get her in there. And they're trying to rally all the Taylor Swifties to go vote for her, which doesn't have anything to do with Lenexa, abortion, and most of these Swiftie issues. But there's a bunch of new unaffiliated voters all over Kansas because of that abortion thing last year. They're probably not going to vote, but if the right candidate is out there and taps into their abortion and everything else, those people will show up and vote for this Julie to become mayor. And we're beat. And it may never turn again. You just don't know how these things go. So I'm involved. I've taken this thing for granted in Lenexa forever. This community was built on conservative values. It was built by conservative politicians. It was built with smart planning. We choose to live in Lenexa for one simple reason. We think it's the best community in Kansas City. We love our neighbors. We love the people. Our police, our firefighters, our responders are the best anywhere. It is safe. It is awesome. The land is hilly and treed, and we have parks and trails and streams. There is no better place in Kansas City to live in Lenexa. No better. Oh, but they want to change Lenexa because being great isn't fair. It's not fair that we're doing so well in Lenexa, that people are so happy. 98% of the residents in Lenexa say the quality of life in Lenexa is great. That, for DEI people, diversity, equity, inclusion, that's not fair. That's white privilege is what that is. That ain't fair. We can't have that. We got to change Lenexa for the worse, because then we'll be better people. If we change Lenexa for the worse, we'll be better people. Let's do low-income housing. Let's build some projects. Let's get some government money and put this up and that up and build more apartments and bring in more liberal voters. Not me. I'm getting active beforehand this time, and I challenge you to do the same thing. And it can be something as simple as taking a friend to the polls with you. The power of multiples is impressive in these elections. Voter turnout in these are not high. You can make a huge difference. If you went out singularly and got 20 people to vote in your town, wherever that is, do you know what a difference you're making? 20 votes? And maybe you don't have no 20 votes. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe it's 5. But my God, we've got 45,000 people subscribed to this podcast in the Kansas City area. That's 45,000 Republicans. If we all vote and we all find one person to take with us, we can win everything. But you got to do it. So I'm imploring you to do what it is that we're doing. And you're going to hear from a candidate in a moment that Lenexa's issues are the same as wherever you live. I promise. They're the same. So this isn't specific to Lenexa, but it's a man that's perfectly suited to be our next mayor for a generation to come. And I'm really worried that this outside money coming in from the Democrats is going to swing this thing. And it's troubling to me, actually. It really does. It bothers me. All right, our interview with Joe will be sponsored by our friends at ticketsforless.com. You want to go to the Chiefs and Chargers on Sunday? Your promo code at ticketsforless.com is KKHI. And don't forget, after the game, if the Chiefs win, however many points the Chiefs score is how many dollars you save on your next Chiefs ticket purchase. So go to ticketsforless.com and use your promo code KKHI right now. Head out to Arrowhead this Sunday for a gorgeous afternoon of football with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Advanced Medical Imaging. We are going to Advanced Medical Imaging for our heart scans in December and our physicals. We're going to do the annual physical and the heart scan. You can do the same thing. They have a family practice there adjacent to Advanced Medical Imaging if you want to do it all in one place. If you're looking for a doctor, they've got great doctors there. Dr. Suber, Dr. Short, they're awesome. And they'll take your insurance. And if you'd like to get the heart scan done, log on to medimageks.com. That's medimageks.com. Got an email last week from a 34-year-old listener who says he's starting to get plaque buildup or a calcium score, and they're going to start treating that. That he went at age 34 and did this. Way to go. medimageks.com. And bstock.net would love to have you in their retail center this weekend. The showroom floor is filled with appliances and televisions and accessories and computers. It's all right there. Yeah, big retail area at bstock.net, 14680 South Flaming Road. They're not just a warehouse and a website, an internet company. You can order online no matter where you live and have it shipped right to you. bstock.net, no dash. BSTOCK, bstock.net. Now they have washers, dryers, fridges, even some microwaves left in stock, all on the retail floor. 14680 South Flaming Road. All right, let's do this. Joe Karlin, we need him to be the next mayor of Lenexa. You need to find out who the next mayor of your town should be, or council person, wherever you live, in this off-year election. It is on for the listeners of KKHI to get busy, get mobile, and get voting. Hit it.
The KK Has Issues conversation is presented by Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC. Shop, click, drive at robertsrobinson.com.
All right, we say hello to Joe Karlin, who has been in Lenexa a long time. 30 years he's lived here. He's been on the council since 2009, and he needs to be our next mayor in Lenexa. Or I don't know what I'm going to do. I might start going to the city council meetings every week if he's not. Hello, Joe. How are you, sir?
Hi, very good. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Thank you. Thanks for all the great service to Lenexa over the years. You and your family have been here for decades now, and between the Planning Commission and City Council, you've dedicated a lot of your time, not for a lot of financial gain, to making, I will say making Lenexa great, not keeping it great. There's a lot of talk about keeping it great now, but really the last couple decades, Lenexa has just exploded, and we love this conservative community, and we want to keep it that way. And I thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. It's just been an awesome ride. Just some amazing things that have gone on. It's been, it is rocky a little bit with the pandemic. Before that, the Great Recession. But Lenexa has always been really good about having the eye on the prize, being patient through that, weathering the storm, and the great things that we're doing, I think, are a testament to that.
It's such a great community, and we've just loved our time here. And one of the reasons I thought it was important for everyone listening, and I've explained this, to have you on, is I want people to get involved in whatever way they can, whether it's you have a podcast and you can help your mayor get elected and some council members, or wherever you live. These are the off-year elections. And this audience specifically, you have no excuse to not vote. Okay? I don't want to hear that, it's an off year, I don't care. Get involved, take 30 minutes, get online, find out who your candidates are that you want to vote for. A lot of these are non-denominational is the way I say it. It's not going to tell you whether it's Republican or Democrat, so find out. There's a Johnson County Republican Voter Guide available online. It's really easy to go find anywhere you want to get online and see it. joecoelection.org. You can find more information. That's specific to Johnson County. But if you live in Missouri, it's the same thing where you live. Find out who your candidates are and go vote, and don't be afraid. Why don't Republicans vote in off-year elections?
That's a really good question. I wish I knew the answer to it. The Democrats are really organized locally, nationally. Republicans, I think we just maybe are a little empathetic, and we feel like we have it under control and don't need to vote. So don't know exactly why, but I do know that this election is going to be decided by who gets their voters out. No question about it.
And we hear things like, okay, if it's a congressional deal and Sharice Davids is running or something, we see him say, oh, the Democrats are pumping more money into that. And we sort of expect it. When we hear at a local level that money is coming in for Democrats from out of state, out of town, or big groups, and these people are funded and they are fanatic about winning elections. They're not good at much else, but they're really good at finding a way to win elections. And you're facing that with your opponent, Julie Sayers, who it won't say when you go vote. It's not going to say Democrat or liberal by her name, right? It's not going to say anything.
Right.
But she's being funded by, what's the organization that's funding her from out of town?
It's called Act Blue.
Act Blue.
And so, financial, anybody can go out and verify this. This is online, johnsoncountyelection.org. And you can go to see the different financial reports filed by each of the candidates that's required by the Election Commission. And in my opponent's case, about a quarter of her dollars came, best I can tell, from out of state. And to me, that's really concerning because I have really focused on getting to know Lenexans, and being here for 30 plus years makes that pretty easy. But I want Lenexans to drive where Lenexa's going, not out-of-staters with their particular issues and agendas to drive where Lenexa is going.
And you're a CPA, you're an accountant by trade, and you've owned and operated several businesses, as has your wife. So you guys obviously know what you're doing, and you know where every nickel in Lenexa goes. I know that you know that. It's in your head. You also have it on a computer screen. But she's bringing this money in from out of town, but at least she's out there spending it all in Lenexa, right?
Again,
not so much.
I would point you to the same financial reports.
Well, what does it say? You have to report where you spend your campaign money and stuff?
Right, exactly.
So theoretically, you'd want to spend your money in Lenexa if you can, right?
Certainly, that's my approach. And this was driven into my head by my dad. Back in a small town in central Kansas, you support your local businesses because you want them around. And I did that with my campaign. Every dollar that I could spend in Lenexa, whether it's Revel Cup Coffee or Ronnie's meeting somebody for lunch, buying my signs, that happened in Lenexa. And not the same story for my opponent.
She probably doesn't even think about it. I'll bet she doesn't know. You think she knows?
I don't know.
She's an interior decorator?
It was disappointing to me is probably the word to see someone who purports to have Lenexa's best interests at heart to not be supporting Lenexa businesses, especially Lenexa small business. It's
pretty clear to me what she's doing. She has the little signs all over Lenexa, and they just say her first name. It just says Julie. So she's clearly trying to get women to vote for her. You can't even see her last name. It's so small. She doesn't want you to see her last name. They're light blue. They're typical Obama-looking things. It screams to a certain voter that I know and recognize and characterize, and I think most of those are female, and I'm in no way knocking female voters. She's just playing to a certain group of people that are fanatic about one or two issues that have very little to do with Lenexa, but they will support someone who's fanatic like them. They're maybe like Taylor Swifties kind of people, and I think that's what she's doing, isn't she?
Well, yeah, and my wife says it best, hopefully no one votes for me just because I'm a guy, and hopefully nobody votes for her just because she's a woman. Look into our platforms, look into what's important to us, look into our experiences, and vote on that.
I don't even know whether there's ever been or is an abortion clinic in Lenexa, but my guess would be with her, from what I can see and gather about what she's been doing, is that's probably her number one issue, and that really doesn't apply to Lenexa mayor. But people will vote for candidates in that party if they know that they're like that. Now, again, it's not going to say Democrat by her name, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is that kind of what she's all about? Is she uber liberal? You've been working with her on the council. What is she like?
I think there are very few issues at the city level that are quote unquote political. So,
what about changing the demographic of the vote in Lenexa?
Potentially. What I would direct people to do is, and I say this with any candidate, look who endorses them.
Okay.
Look at their history. What issues have they been involved in the past? And I think that'll answer your question right there.
We got a guy, I'm in Ward 2, and Mark Charlton is running, and I've been helping his campaign a little bit, putting some signs up and doing what I can. I'll do the same for you. If you got signs for me, I'll go anywhere. We'll knock on doors and do the whole deal.
Awesome.
We're going to start doing that week after next, after I get through this wedding this week. But next week, we're going to start doing that. And it drives me crazy because he's going up against a guy named Jermaine Jameson, who the O in his last name is the Obama logo. It's like literally the logo. And I went to this man's website, and I'm sure he's a fine man. He's been coached. He's lived here a long time. He's coached a lot of youth basketball and sports, and I've heard a lot of people say he's really a nice man, and I'm sure he is. His campaign website doesn't say what he does for a living. I've never heard of anybody running for anything that it didn't say, here's what I do for a living. He's a DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion executive for UMKC, and he doesn't want anybody in Lenexa to know that. And he's running for my ward's city council. This is how dishonest some of this stuff is. Why can't we put Republican or Democrat by people on the ballot every time?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. So been on the council, as you mentioned, 14 years. And when I started, it truly was nonpartisan. Nobody ever asked what party I was in. That's changed over the last 5 or 6 years. And that's typically the second question I get is, okay, what party are you? And so
that'd be my first question.
Yeah.
You know me now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And honestly, from people, that typically is the first question. But, I think if there are candidates who are running on an agenda or have an agenda that they are not being forthright with, then maybe the best case is to have an R or D next to your name. So at least then and it's not hidden. It's out there in the open.
This Jameson clearly is winning the sign battle, and he knows he's been coaching all these youth sports, so he knows all these parents, all these kids now are voters probably too in Lenexa. I think I could be wrong, but it seems like maybe he's got a huge advantage just in all the people he knows and everything that's going on. And Mark Charlton's a great guy. He got in 2 days before the deadline because nobody was going to run against this guy. So it was literally just a citizen stepping up saying, I'm going to try to run for city council here. That's an uphill battle that he's got.
Yeah.
And I don't think people have any idea. I feel like it should be against the law. You should have to declare on a ballot what you are, even for a school board position. If you want to put independent, put independent. Or if you want to put NA, non-affiliated, whatever. But I think you should have to declare something when people go vote. I don't understand why we've gotten to a place in this country where we want low information voters. They literally make it hard. Do you know how hard it is to find out what Jermaine Jameson does for a living? You got to work. This guy's got a great chance to be my city councilman, and you can't find out what he does for a living because he doesn't want you to know.
Interesting.
It's wrong.
I didn't realize that.
It's just flat wrong. It's just dishonest to the core. So I'm getting off topic here, Joe. I'm very sorry about that. Okay, one of the things that you really stand for is public safety, and this is something that I think the ultimate compliment to living in Lenexa is just not something we think about very much, which means you're doing a damn good job, and Mayor Boehm did a great job.
Yeah.
And our police and first responders and everyone in Lenexa are just top-notch. But you're concerned that we have to always keep our eye on the ball on that? This is a really a top priority for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Top priority for me is public safety. That's our fire, that's our police, that's our EMTs. And as I say, what's good with having a beautiful park if you don't feel safe in that park? What good is having quality streets if you're not sure if the fire department's going to show up? We have an amazing staff. I am so proud of our public safety officers. My next comment in no way, speaks to a job they are or are not doing, but I think we need to reemphasize a focus on property crime. So property crime across the region, across the nation is up. And you don't have to look too far into the news to see the smash and grabs. We've had those in Lenexa, not on the scale that in LA or whatever, but we've had those in Lenexa. Last month, 4 cars on my cul-de-sac got broken into. 1 was attempted to be stolen. So this stuff is happening. And so what I will do if elected is form a property crime task force. These will be new positions, not going to pull anybody, no positions off the street. These are going to be new officers, or if they do come off the existing force, they'll be replaced. But I want to focus on property crime. And I want the word in the criminal element to say, you know what? don't go to Lenexa.
Right.
If you go to Lenexa, you're going to get caught. You're going to do jail time. Go somewhere else. And I think we can get there. These are more than just nuisances. We live in a city. We should feel safe. We should be able to park our cars in the driveway and not be worried about whether it's going to be there in the morning.
Joe, I would describe you in sports terms as you're like an offensive or defensive coordinator that's won like 3 Super Bowls, and now you're ready to be the head coach, and your opponent is not. I don't know exactly what she is, assistant wide receivers coach or something. She's an interior designer. I'm just giving you the facts. She doesn't really know accounting or understand. She can't. I listen to the debate. She can't. I appreciate that she can pick out a great sofa for somebody. There are not many people in Lenexa that need an interior designer. I mean, this is a thing. I don't even understand how. If everybody in Lenexa knows, if you just saw what she wore to the debate, it would probably turn you off and you'd say, no, this isn't going to happen. I know you can't say this stuff and you're a nicer guy than I am, but I don't know why this doesn't seem serious to me. And yet I'm worried. I don't trust elections anymore because I know how rabid they are on the other side to rally people somehow. This isn't close. I mean, like if there was a score 0 to 100 ready to be mayor, you're 90 and she's 10. It's honestly, you know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right?
Well, hopefully after 18 years around on city council and planning commission.
18 years of greatness.
Yeah.
I mean, Lenexa has been great for those 18 years.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, and 30 years in the community. I measure that and that's coaching little league teams, volunteering at our church, at our kids' school, all those things I believe play into what you can provide back to the community. And so, as my wife and I talk, we talk a lot about experience and community involvement as being really key to that position.
Folks, you cannot sit this election out. It's November 7th. Early voting starts almost everywhere well before that. And you can go vote in Johnson County at the Johnson County Election Office. There's other places. If you live in Jackson County, they're having some special elections and things as well. There's elections everywhere on November 7th, and these really matter. We get all wound up with who the president is and things like that, but your mayor and your council matter a lot where you live. And I need everybody in Lenexa to get motivated and do this. Again, cheat sheets at Johnson County Republican Voter Guide is online. There's Republican voter guides in almost every county in the metro area if you want to go find out who to vote for, because a lot of people are afraid to go vote and say, well, I don't know which one to pick. Don't go in and guess. All right? Find out who the right candidate is and go in there and vote for that candidate. Joe Karlin for mayor in Lenexa is absolutely 100% the way to go. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I don't know how much land is left in Lenexa. I've seen what's happened over the last 20 years living here. We're blessed with some great land. It's hilly, it's treed, there's creeks, there's streams, we have lakes. It's so beautiful. And now this battery plant's coming into DeSoto, which means more people are going to want to live here because it's close. How far does Lenexa go and how much future growth is there? How long will it take for Lenexa to be full?
Yeah, so Lenexa's, right now we have 60,000 residents. By build out, the number could be anywhere from 100, 110 to 130.
Wow.
So
more than
double. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of land. We are landlocked, so we have Lathe on the south, DeSoto on the west, and Shawnee on the north. But if you're at city center, there's so much land west of there.
Yeah.
And so, to me, around K10 and K7, which is pretty much a major intersection here in Johnson County, certainly in Lenexa, that I think is going to be influenced by the employees and the vendors and the support staff for the Panasonic plant. So I would see that building up similar to a typical business park.
How much of this do you want to be business versus residence? I mean, what I don't even know what the right ratio is. I know the corridor along Renner and such has been really great for Lenexa, and there's a lot of tax money comes from these businesses. Yeah. How do you balance between, hey, we want to get businesses or more retail in or things like that versus residents?
Yeah, so traditionally, you're exactly right. It's close to a 50-50 break on how much of our property tax revenue comes from businesses as opposed to consumer or to citizens. So that's a huge break to you and me in our pocketbook that the businesses that have chosen Lenexa to invest in are helping us do the great things that we do, the parks, the roads, public safety, et cetera. I think going forward, as I look at the undeveloped parts of Lenexa, I don't think it'll be that 50-50. I think it will be predominantly, in my view, it should be predominantly single-family home neighborhoods. Now, what I would like to also see is some attainable housing, and we talked about this a little bit before we started. a son and daughter of mine bought houses this year. Not a chance they could live in Lenexa. They have really good jobs, but Lenexa is so expensive. And Johnson County is so expensive. And that's just not a Lenexa thing. So what I would, and actually this is something we've started on already. We started a public-private task force because nobody has the solution. This is going to take the city, the county, builders, developers, banks to come together and say, how can we bring the cost of housing down in parts of Lenexa? You know, not all of Lenexa, but I think we can have little nodes where we can bring young families to Lenexa. I also hear from a ton of seniors that they would love to have a place to move, but right now, if they downsize, they pay more for less. So a condo, a co-op, those kind of things I think would be a tremendous asset to Lenexa and would really provide additional solutions on the housing front.
I think it's stunning there's no condos in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Well, you can get them on the plaza, I guess, or maybe downtown, but I think it's stunning that this community has no condos. And I talked to a lot of friends my age in their mid to late 50s or whatever, and we're starting to think about, okay, what are you going to do when you retire? Where do you want to live? We love being in Arizona. We hopefully will have a grandbaby there at some point soon and be able to go visit and do all that. And maybe there's a day where the house is in Arizona and there's a condo in Kansas City to just come back for the summers.
Right.
There's just no options on that kind of thing. Look, that's a first world problem. I'm talking about two properties here. Okay. I don't mean to be a snob, but you work your whole life for something like that and you want those options. I'm just amazed. It's not unique to Lenexa. There's just no condos in this town. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is. But I think, I've been in finance and accounting, as you mentioned before. I've been in banking. And so, there are some unique ways you can do it. A traditional condo, it's just not made for most of Johnson County.
I know.
But you can do things like a co-op, or you could form a limited partnership to be the body that builds a condo and owns a condo. And I mean, it's doable. We just need to think outside the box a little bit. And I see it happening. I talk to so many people that would be a home run for them.
Yeah. Well, if I can call my shot, I'd like a golf course condo. If we could, we just go ahead and start some sort of a golf course condo complex or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
It's on the list.
There you
Excellent.
Go. All right. You said during the debate, you talked about, and I found this interesting because you're a CPA and you're really smart with numbers and I'm not. Okay. I can add up cards at a blackjack table. That's about it. So you talked about zero sum or something with the budget every year. Normally what? An increase is built in every year, and you're like, wait a second, no, let's take this item by item every year, and there might be years you actually bring it down. Explain what it is that you would do to be fiscally responsible instead of just adding to it every year.
Yeah, so it's called zero-based budgeting, and so almost all governments, and I want to start off, we have an amazing staff. They work their tails off to bring prices down, to bring costs down and taxes down. But zero-based budgeting is something that I don't believe we tried before. I've done this in the private sector. I've literally deployed this for companies. And so what you do with a zero-based budget is you wipe the slate clean. And you say, as opposed to, well, last year we spent $100,000, is it going to be 10%, 15%? How much are we added? You wipe the slate clean and say, to provide this service, how can we most efficiently do that? And it might be, well, we used to outsource, we'll bring it in-house. Or maybe it's even a service that nobody values. And so you can redeploy those assets elsewhere. So it's just a different way of looking at how you're spending your money. And I think we can do that without cutting services at all, maybe just in a minor shape. But my experience with private companies has been 5 to 7% savings the first year, 15 to 20 over 3 years. So, again, we have an amazing staff. I'm not sure we can get there, but I think we can make a dent in the taxes.
So would that bring taxes down?
Absolutely.
I mean, you just have no doubt if you started doing it that way.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, because that means your expenses come down, so therefore your taxes come down.
Wow. I'd just knock on every door and say, Joe's lowering your taxes. Let's go. Let's get it. And you know all these numbers. This is not some pipe dream. You can do this.
I've done this. Yeah.
The council has to agree to it. I mean, that's no big trick, right?
No, exactly. I think I have not talked to a Lenexan who says I'm not paying enough taxes.
Right.
That just doesn't come out. They all say we get some great services here, but lower taxes would be great. So I think it'd be hard for anybody to say, no, let's not do this.
Exactly. I do want to afford you the opportunity to say a word or two about Mayor Boehm and the service that he's provided to Lenexa. Was it 28 years? 20?
20 as mayor,
20 as mayor.
and I'm not sure, 28 or whatever as on city council before.
I never heard a bad word about him by anybody.
Mike is an amazing guy. He's done so much for Lenexa. He came after Joan Bowman, who did an amazing job. She started Vision 2020, which that occurred around the turn of the century and really cast a vision for where Lenexa was going. Mike has carried that on. He's just so good, not only for Lenexa, but for the region. He is one of those guys that people look to, and those are incredibly big shoes to fill. And I just thank him for everything he's done.
Is he endorsing you?
He is not. He's staying neutral.
He's just going to stay out of it.
I respect that because he wants the citizens of Lenexa to decide, and I very much respect that.
You're close with him, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me make sure I got this right. Joe, Lenexa, Ward 1, Bethany Griffith.
Correct.
Ward 2, Mark Charlton.
Correct.
Dan Rowe in Ward 3.
Yep.
And Michael Elliott in Ward 4.
You got it.
And so that works. There's the 4. These are available online as well. Joe Karlin needs to be your next mayor of Lenexa. It's Joe Karlin for LenexaMayor.org.
You got it. Correct. And Karlin was with a K.
K.
Yep.
Yeah, JK, just like my wife, JK.
Oh, there you go.
JK, Joe Karlin for mayor with a K. If you live in Lenexa, folks, I implore you, if you love this podcast and you've listened, you've got to vote. Number one, I've tried to tell all my friends, find 5 people that are dormant. We know who our friends are, and they all say, it doesn't matter. It's not president. Get them to vote, pick them up, take them with you. Find 5 people to go vote, and we can just crush it everywhere.
Couldn't agree more.
It's just something so simple. The people that listen to this podcast, you folks got to be active no matter where you live. Go find some people and take them to the polls and vote with you. It's really that simple.
Couldn't agree more, Kevin, because this impacts your neighborhood, your city, and not to discount the federal and state stuff, but I mean, this is talking about your city, your neighborhood, your friends. It's critically important that we get the vote out on November 7th.
Joe, again, thank you so much for all you've done for Lenexa through the decades. This isn't a close decision at all. We wish you just the very best, and I'll do everything I can the next few weeks to get you elected November 7th.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate it.
He's Joe Karlin for mayor of Lenexa, and we'd love to have, if you're a Lenexa listener, love to have your vote. Get out and vote for Joe Karlin and Mark Charlton. Joe Karlin and Mark Charlton, if you're in Ward 2. We gave the other names a little bit earlier. Again, there's a total cheat sheet for Johnson County Republicans, and likely wherever you live, you can log on to your Republican Party from your county or your city or your state and find out who to vote for in this off-year election. Your vote matters incrementally. It matters much more in one of these elections where the turnout is lower than it does when the turnout is higher. A lot of people think my vote's not worth much. Well, a lot of these council members will win with like 500 votes you can get on the council, and it matters. It matters big time. Your vote matters more right now than it does in a regular presidential election, so we appreciate that. We also thank our friends for sponsoring the podcast, the Finch Knife Company, online at finchknifeco.com. Keep life from getting dull with a Finch pocket knife, available at Shields in Overland Park, the Bullet Hole in Mission, and Teague Tractor in Belton. Easiest way to see every single collection of Finch knives is to log on to finchknifeco.com. Advantage Termite and Pest Control. It was great to have Joe over here today to my home. Never had to worry about him down. We're on the lower level, like the basement man cave is where my studio is. I don't have to worry about any creepy crawlers or bugs running around, embarrassing me or anything like that. Because Advantage Termite and Pest Control takes care of everything right here at the Keatsman House, and they have for almost 25 years now. AdvantageTPC.com. For all your termite and pest control needs. They also do lawn care. If you're looking for that next year and want to get signed up for that, they'll do it all with one regular quarterly payment. If you want to set it up that way with your pest control, your lawn, and everything, AdvantageTPC.com, 913-768-8989. And Window World, the first sponsor of KKHI. John Gillette and his team would love the opportunity to come to your house for a free analysis and estimate, whether it's one window, a sliding door, a storm door that goes out to your deck, or a whole house of windows. Window World can handle it for you with American-made products that feature lifetime warranties and 0% financing. Simply the best for less. Window World is the official windows of the Kansas City Chiefs. 816-799-0820. They're online at windowskansascity.com. And the special reminder this week is it's wedding week for us. So we're excited out here in Arizona, getting ready for the big wedding. The reminder is, as these aren't regular formatted podcasts and whatnot, if you can't think of a sponsor or a website or a phone number that goes with a sponsor, you can always go to the KK list. TheKKList.com. is your resource for great conservative businesses, whether it's goods or services, thekklist.com. Thanks for tuning into this one. Hit the like or follow button. Tell your friends about it. If you know somebody in Lenexa, please tell them to listen to this podcast. If you live elsewhere and you know somebody lives in Lenexa, have them listen to this. Say, go listen to Joe for mayor and give it a listen and try to get involved in your community if you possibly can. We're just a day away from the big wedding out here in Phoenix, and I thank you for listening to Kevin Kietzman Has Issues.
Thanks for listening to Kevin Kietzman Has Issues, presented by Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC. To get exclusive patrons-only podcasts, receive a weekly newsletter, and attend in-person patrons-only parties, visit kkhasissues.com and become a patron today. This has been a production of Crooked Tail Media Incorporated.